Hi there. So today I would like to talk about a process called engaged detachment. Now, it sounds as if that means like just letting go of things, but it's actually quite the opposite. It means being involved. It's being in the present moment. It's enjoying simply being. And, if your existing life isn't ideal, you can spend time meditating on what would be the ideal life given your circumstance. Or you can spend time meditating on what would be an ideal life somewhere else. And given that we are eternal, possibly after you leave here, you may manifest that world. You never know. But we need to work on enjoying the little things in life, being more present in the moment, not sitting there and worrying about something trivial or something that, even if it's not trivial, something that's to come. Like, let's say, for example, your boss gives you notice on October 1st that you've got a 50-50 chance of being let go come the end of the month. Okay, well, that's, alarming for many people. And, so we could do we could worry for 30 days, do nothing, and just complain about it and lash out at others because we're stressed and completely shut down and not engage with our family and stuff like that because we're stressed out about that. We could do that. Or we could say, well, all right. I mean, it is what it is. It's out of my hands. So, you need to evaluate the situation. I mean, there may be reasons that, you need this job to be out of your life. And you just have to have faith that it will work out for your highest and greatest good. Set the intention that it will work out for your highest and greatest good. And in this particular instance, you would have 30 days. And so at that point, each day you could take an action towards doing something positive to, counteract that situation. For example, you could try to apply for, you could look at new jobs and apply for a couple new jobs a week. You could talk to family or friends, hey, if I lose my job and need a couple $100, could you help me? You could set up a GoFundMe, and you don't have to have it active, but have it written up and ready should that be necessary. You could, find out what the unemployment situation is. I mean, if you were to lose your job, would you get unemployment? Does your job have unemployment benefits? Things like that. You could, and then by the end of the 30 days, if you lost your job, for example, if you had applied for 2 jobs a week, you would already have, 8 to 10 jobs in the resumes or whatever applications out there. And you could even potentially have gotten calls back and be, further in an interview process, because a lot of times when you get a new job, it takes 4 to 6 weeks before you, get paid again. So, sometimes people can't, go without that. Or, and then there would be other things you could do. You could look at expenses that you could cut out over the next 30 days, ways that you could limit your spending. Things like that. But there would be ways to tackle it to where it wouldn't be the end of the world and where you wouldn't just sit there and do nothing about it and lash out at others. I mean, often when we sit there worrying or having anxiety, we're actually not taking action. But when we are detached from the outcome, is what the detachment is. You are engaged in the moment and you are detached from the outcome. As long as you're not doing anything terrible to harm others, typically the outcome isn't going to be unpleasant. I mean, you can't completely neglect all of your responsibilities and things like that. I mean, I'm not saying that you just, you don't care. Let me read what I wrote here. And then I've also got an article that I'm going to read, just some tips. This won't be very long. Okay, engaged detachment. Every day we have the opportunity to practice engaged detachment, which is being in the present moment. Detachment is the day-to-day process of accepting reality as it presents itself and doing our best to align our actions with what we feel from our heart and mind while surrendering to the outcome. Detachment does not mean becoming withdrawn. It simply means seeing things from a different perspective while remaining fully involved. It's about releasing our need for the object of attachment. We still give it our all, but without being entangled in fear and anxiety. Think of it as removing emotion out of day-to-day interactions and seeing situations from an observer's point of view. Don't have rigid expectations for how events will turn out or how another person will behave or react. Instead, let life unfold as it is intended to. Detachment involves learning to live in the moment, being content simply because you exist, learning to be grateful for life itself and its small things. This means fully engaging in the present moment and not focusing on future outcomes. And I will say from experience, it is a better, much more peaceful way to live. I just realized a few years ago, that I was worrying so much about these little tiny trivial things. And then I had this major shift in my life where I was removed from all of those things. And they still, the world still functioned, but you get so wrapped up in the matrix, if you will, and the trivial systems that it keeps you involved in to distract you from what really matters. In order to release a strong attachment to something on the external, we must first identify that we have an attachment. We do this by noting the strong emotional triggers, impulses, and feelings we experience in regard to situations. We must learn self-awareness and how to examine our emotions in order to get to the core issues that we have. Where did the story we have told ourselves about what is good and bad come from? We must reparent ourselves after developing self-awareness, and that's another topic. Detachment involves focusing on the present moment. When we allow things to be as they are in the moment, we can release our desire to control or manipulate the situation in order to obtain results that our ego thinks is a better outcome. The universe will have things unfold to our highest and greatest good if we set that intention. We must learn to go with the flow of life. Refocusing mental perception from negative or fear-based thinking into a positive mindset is achieved through the practice of love, acceptance, and forgiveness of the self and others. People who are controlled by ego often misrepresent neutrality as a dissociative reaction to external events or a lack of empathy for others' feelings. Dissociation and being neutrality, are not the same state of consciousness. Dissociation is disconnected from circumstances, while neutrality is connected through self-awareness. Detachment reveals a great paradox of life. In order to acquire something, you have to relinquish your attachment to having it. When you recognize that the only genuine source of security is living as your true self, then you can more easily detach. Studies are now showing that detachment and recovery from work are essential for both our physical and psychological health. The advent of 24/7 availability has actually limited our creativity, and we are deciding finally that being available all the time is not necessarily all it's cracked up to be. In fact, breakthroughs happen most often when we are not thinking about work. Some of our best ideas pop into our heads when we're gardening, driving, listening to music, or taking a bath. People who detach from work have less work-related fatigue, procrastinate less, and feel more in the flow while at work. Everyone needs a reset when the day is done. True happiness comes from inside, from the soul, not from external things. Happiness comes from outgrowing animal instincts like herd behavior and territorial instincts. We can outgrow these by helping others without expectation. We are made happy by the act of doing and not in the end achievement. You are not waiting for results, you are enjoying the act of doing. Detach from things you can't control, which is almost everything except yourself or your attitude towards something. A detached state leads to a purposeful and peaceful life. Hi there, sweetie. I see you playing peekaboo. Mommy's almost done. Good times take us to a higher state of energy and bad times to a lower state. Our moods change the energy state of our mind. When our mood constantly changes, that doesn't let us be in peace. One needs to be in a state where he is not disturbed by the circumstances, in a state of equilibrium. Instead of experiencing dramatic highs and lows by trivial matters, We can be free from the reptilian mind control when in a balanced state. A state of equilibrium can help discover the greater purpose of life and help expand our mindset. Okay, and then there were 5 steps to detaching that I wanted to read, and I will link this article. How to detach, 5 steps. 1. Observe your mind. Become aware of what kind of thoughts you habitually think. What things or descriptors do you identify with most? Become a student of self and heighten your awareness of where attachment happens more frequently for you. Recognize that attachment comes with an emotional charge. Notice where you feel this in your physical body. It's different for each individual, and learning your pattern is a useful tool in creating change. 2. Distinguish between ego and actuality. Your ego might tell you that not getting the job you want has ruined your career. The actuality is you were disappointed because you didn't get something you wanted. Nothing has changed except your thoughts about your future potential. The actual situation is the same as it was prior to not getting the job, and you can still advance your career. 3. Embrace uncertainty. Only a willingness to embrace the unknown provides security. As Deepak Chopra says, those who seek security in the exterior world chase it for a lifetime. By letting go of your attachment to the illusion of security, which is really an attachment to the known, you step into the field of all possibilities. This is where you will find true happiness, abundance, and fulfillment. 4. Meditate on it. Meditation is a vehicle to help your mind release patterns of thought and action that no longer serve you. Spend some time in meditation each day and watch how the patterns in your life begin to change. Don't beat yourself up for falling into old habits. The first step in making change is recognizing that you want to change. Instead of getting frustrated or disappointed when you fall back into an old habit, celebrate that you are now noticing when you repeat the pattern of thought or habit. In time, this will help you transform your behavior. When you begin living a life that starts with happiness from an internal place rather than attaching your ability to be happy on external conditions, then you have understood detachment. Remember, it's a practice. Happiness is the journey and not the destination. Or as Wayne Dyer said, there is no way to happiness. Happiness is the way. And I don't have any idea who Wayne Dyer is, but he is correct that happiness is along the way, and it's all parts of life, and it is a mindset, and you have to try. You really just have to work through accepting yourself, loving yourself. And you have to get rid of, people that are negative and they only want to engage in negativity. I very seldom engage in negativity. And I've had a couple recent incidents, which is a bit odd. I do feel that people are getting, suicides are up. There's a general uncertainty. We don't know what timeline we're on or how it's going to go. So it's just important right now to maintain balanced and inject as much positivity into the realm as you can, but just try to remain balanced and not get emotional and not get in these emotional triggered states and get angry and upset or, and even when people say things that are hurtful, you have to remember that it's coming from a hurt place in them. And it's, I don't know. There is a sense of hopelessness and a fear that truthers are concentrating on doomsday and spending a lot of time actually creating it. So we really need to just, even though it's unrealistic, or maybe it's unrealistic, I don't know. Let's focus on 5G being for free energy. Let's focus on whoever ends up in power is actually, a benevolent master. Why not hope for the best? Have a great day.